All right, Josh. Well, we're here today to talk about a subject that you and I deal with on a regular basis. It's not
Every
a fun
day.
one, but it's a regular topic that we deal with, which is house fires.
Yeah.
All right, something we deal with regularly. And it's a good thing. Well,
Hey guys, don't start without me.
well, we can't start without those people that we absolutely respect, our first responders and firefighters. So why don't we start with our perspectives on things. So I'm Barry Gray, local insurance agent that tries to protect people from loss before it actually happens and deals with some of the aftermath as well.
Hi, guys. I'm Josh Hammer. I am a fire damage restoration specialist.
Hi, Ben Barber, eXp Realty, local realtor and local firefighter.
So we all have a different perspective, but yet all kind of work together in different ways when tragedy strikes like this. So I was thinking about it, and with the top 5 causes of house fires.
Yeah.
So those top 5 are careless cooking, number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Space heaters, that happens, we're this time of year, we're middle of winter,
Definitely.
and that happens all the time. Electrical problems within the house.
Yeah.
Careless smoking. And candles.
Candles.
I know my daughters and my wife like candles, so that's one that I can relate to a little bit.
So do cats. They like to play with
Exactly,
them.
play with them a little bit. So Ben, from your standpoint, you're there fighting a fire, but would you agree that those enemies that you see as you're fighting the fires?
Oh, definitely, especially kitchen fires. That's a big one. Like you touched on this time of year, space heaters, electrical, people overloading stuff with the holidays. You know, you got your Griswold light display that you're working on.
Yep.
You know, not everybody's electric's set up for that.
Yep. Michelle makes fun of me once in a while when I want to turn the Christmas lights off if we're leaving even for a few minutes.
Yeah,
but
I do the same.
It's a paranoia that I have, and from the business that I'm in.
Yeah, no, and that's valid, 100%. I mean, that is a thing. Careless smoking, I feel like that is going away as smoking goes away in our culture. So I won't be surprised to watch that statistic drop in the
That'd be a good
future.
thing.
That I think just in general, people are smoking less. Candles, that's definitely still a big one.
Yeah.
I see that regularly as well.
Yeah.
So Josh, from your standpoint,
I've seen recently a lot of like rechargeable batteries creating fires, buying some, lesser expensive things off Amazon. Not saying that there's anything buying stuff off Amazon. I'm just saying I've run into quite a bit of that lately. I think they're supposed to only be plugged in for a certain amount of time, and sometimes you forget about it. You go to bed and you leave them charging overnight. And I've seen that they don't create huge fires, but big smoldering smoke throughout the entire house.
Well, we
I've
get
seen
warned
quite
on
a few of
airplanes.
those. Sure.
about batteries.
Absolutely.
And yeah, somebody just told me that, and it might even been you, about a child's toy that had a battery in it that overheated.
That's correct.
Yeah, so it happens.
Definitely kids' toys.
So lots of things that we see is causing the fires. For us, we're trying to be smart in the insurance industry and get ahead of that stuff a little bit, knowing that some of those are the main causes. I brought in an example of one of the things that we're using now. It's a fire blanket. Yeah. Because with that number one cause happening in kitchens, like I think we were talking earlier, is you may have that fire extinguisher, but it may be beside the stove or under the sink. If that's on fire, it's hard to get to that fire extinguisher. Right. So we're trying to have blankets available and have them put in strategic places in the house that can be thrown over that and put that fire out. So we're trying to get ahead of those causes. And at the same time, we've partnered with a company for a device that monitors your electrical current throughout the house so that it can sense if there's a short, if there's an arc, something that's causing a fire within the house, and you actually get notified. You can get a text right on your phone if something happens.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we're trying to get ahead of those a little bit.
Definitely. Being proactive, that's smart.
So with that, you're kind of that industry expert. What are some of those things that we can do to be proactive before that fire starts?
I would say definitely, like you had touched on, with having a fire extinguisher handy in the kitchen and placement. Don't put it right next to the stove, because likely that's what's going to be on fire. And, to even access that can be difficult. Don't hide it under the sink, somewhere where it's readily available, not where you have to dig for it. Yep. And, hey, we got 5 things to move to even find it. So definitely that. Of course, smoke detectors are a huge thing. Safety first. We want people to be safe. We want them to be okay.
Yeah.
Stuff is replaceable. People are not.
So is it twice a year we should change batteries?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that time change
an
is how I remember
easy
it?
reminder. Yep, the time changes. Check your smoke detectors. Even a lot of hardwired detectors still have batteries. I think a lot of people are not aware of that. So that's something definitely be proactive about. Carbon monoxide detectors.
That's always a good one to have
popular.
as well. Yeah. And then we were talking earlier about sleeping with doors closed.
Yes, so that's a
So tell me
huge
about
one.
that.
So essentially, time is our biggest enemy in the fire service. So the more time we can give to people, whatever their situation is, when there's a fire, the better the outcome typically. So just sleeping with your door closed is an immeasurable impact. I've seen homes where literally the hallway is burnt up into the walls. You open the bedroom door and it looks untouched.
Well, we were in a house the other day that was exactly
seen
like that.
Yeah.
The kitchen, the living room was just gone. Bedroom
Yeah.
was totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing for people is tenable, that you don't have that heat, you're not breathing those toxic fumes. So much of our day-to-day products are petroleum based, and so you get a lot of toxins in that smoke that are harmful as well as the actual fire and heat.
So, yes, this is not something that we all think about on a daily basis or plan for. We always think it's not going to happen to us. But those things that we could do in advance, whether that is having the fire extinguishers around and in smart places, changing the batteries. Another one that people talk about is having a meeting place.
Yeah.
What would you suggest there?
Keep it simple and practice it, especially if you have children. Have a meeting place, the mailbox, the big tree in the front yard, whatever it is. Another one is pets. Make sure your kids are aware. Don't go back in for your pets. Don't go back in for your favorite toy. Once we get out of the house, stay out of the house.
Very good.
And having that meeting place and actually practicing that. It doesn't have to be, it's every Sunday after church we get home, we're going to go do fire drills, kids. But routinely enough, I'd say maybe quarterly where, kids are top of mind. Hey, we got to get out of the house and we're going to meet over here at Bobby Sue's house next door at their big tree in the front yard.
That's good advice. Good advice. How about from your standpoint, from the things you see, what are some of the proactive things that people should do?
Well, I think something that's important is to have a fireproof safe for all your passports, your social security numbers, all those things that you want to make sure that you have. Anything that's super valuable, put those in a fireproof safe. Also, folks, buy totes. We see it all the time. Totes, yes, they can burn up in fires, but if they're in your basement, if it's not a basement fire, and the fire department there's going to put a bunch of water and stuff on it, it's going to ruin any cardboard box or anything that's in those particular boxes. Go out and buy totes, get them off the ground, and it'll save a lot of your personal belongings when it's all said and done. And then the other thing is just take an inventory of some of your contents, your personal belongings. You think it might not happen to you, but if you have that information, it's going to make the process a lot easier when it's all said and done. I'm not saying every pen and pencil that's in your house, but more of the valuable type stuff that you're going to want to make sure it gets covered when it's all said and done.
Well, a couple things there. If you have things in cardboard boxes, one, they break down over time. Two, they're flammable, so they could add to the problem. And like I said, there's other things that happen as well, whether that's water backup. Sometimes that happens. You guys get drawn into that as well. Just protect your stuff.
Yeah, it does.
And I would agree on the inventory side of things. To me, that's a good conversation starter with your insurance agent, is because as you go through and do that, you're looking at your valuables. Does your policy have sublimits that only so much is covered? And so you want to have that. And then there's so many different ways to do it. Some people, there used to be services that did it with cameras. They'd actually go around the house and document things. But either write it down, have it on a thumb drive, whatever it is, but put it in that fire safe.
Correct.
Or upload it to the cloud somewhere that's not in the house that's going to go down with it.
Yeah.
Just things that can make the whole situation just a little bit better.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. That's great advice. And I mean, even understanding things like certain collections. I know for me, my Beanie Baby collection.
Oh, absolutely.
Man, if something happened to that, I'd be done for. So, having those conversations with your insurance agent. Hey, this is, to me, my priceless Beanie Baby collection.
Yep.
But yeah, there's a value to that, and make sure you have appropriate coverage. Firearms is another big one I see a lot.
That's a very big one, yep.
Especially if you have, generational firearms. This has been passed down from my great-grandfather, heirloom pieces. Most collectibles there's some intrinsic value there. So that's a good conversation to have.
Yeah, and that's the conversation that I have with a lot of our clients is firearms is a big one, jewelry is another one.
Of course.
Art, collectibles, antiques, your baseball cards, all of those things are you want to inventory.
Yeah, even clothing. I mean, the cost of clothing.
Yes.
That can be a big thing. For sure.
So in looking at houses and different houses and where they're located and the riskiness of fire, from the insurance standpoint, one of the things we looked at are what's called protection class codes. Mm-hmm. And that means the scale goes from 1 to 10. 1 is you have a professionally staffed fire department that is next door to your house, and you have a fire hydrant in your front yard. Odds are they're going to get alerted pretty quick. They're there. They're going to be to your house super quickly. They got all the water they need. That fire is going to get knocked down relatively quickly. A 10 is the exact opposite. That is going to be your very rural home out in the countryside, probably in an area where there's a volunteer fire department. Yep. And it is more than 5 miles away, and there's no fire hydrant anywhere to be seen. It's going to be a much different situation. You're likely to have a complete loss at that point in time because it's not going to get knocked down really quickly. Mm-hmm. Ben, tell me about, from your experience as a firefighter, what it's like from the second that tone goes off and you're sitting in your living room maybe, to how long it takes you to get to the station, the process to get ready and get on site.
Well, I mean, I do both. Sometimes I do shifts at the station, and sometimes I am at home. Of course, like you mentioned, it may depend on your department, where you're located. Is it a full-time staff department or is it a volunteer department? That's going to definitely impact that. So I guess the big thing, if it's a staff department, they're going to be leaving right away. Common practice in our area is 3 stations are dispatched.
Okay.
So for a residential fire, you're going to get 3 stations responding. So they're going to be leaving immediately, your nearest station. There are guidelines that in the fire service we have to meet as far as response time. I'd say in our area, typical response is probably within 2 minutes on the long end of things. I mean, we have very good fire departments in our area, just very good roads, accessibility things. So that's, I'd say, a pretty realistic.
So if you compare that to more of a rural situation, I believe somebody may have 10 minutes to get to the station.
Oh, yeah, and that's it. What you're looking at, number one, are they starting right there where they can leave the station, or are they coming from their home where they then have to leave their home, respond to the station, get to the station, put their gear on, respond with the apparatus, and then respond. And who knows how big the district is. As you get into more rural areas, their response time itself might be 20 minutes. So, I mean, yeah, in 20 minutes, a lot of bad things can happen in a fire. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot to that. I think depending on your department, of course, is going to depend on who arrives and in, I guess, what capacity. So a lot of our area, we have full-time departments. They're fully staffed. A fire engine's going to pull up, and it's going to be fully loaded. Like I said, you'll typically have a 3-station response. So the second responding engine is usually a water supply engine. So they would grab the fire hydrant. They're going to be supplying water to that initial engine. Or if you're somewhere without hydrants, which we definitely have in our district, I don't know if you even have hydrants in your neighborhood.
Yeah, I don't.
So in that instance, they would be setting up some sort of water supply, a portable tank, setting up water shuttling operations, tanker trucks to essentially haul water in. Time, you really, it depends on size of engine, but I'd say fully working, you're probably looking at 3 minutes of water time on a single engine.
Gotcha.
So
Wow.
that's
So it goes quick.
It goes quick, yes. I mean, you use it sparingly if you're in a situation where you don't have a hydrant and it may be a little while before you have water.
Yep.
So
Can you talk about a little bit when you get there about once you kind of got the fire kind of under control and it's all out, but looking for hot spots and different things like that? What's your process with that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's situational on what type of fire was it? Was it a room and contents fire? Was there just the fire mainly contained a bedroom? Was it throughout the first floor? Was it a basement fire? Type of construction is huge. So in older homes, you typically don't have fire stops. So the fire spreads through the walls into the upper levels very quickly because there's nothing to stop it.
Yeah.
It just wasn't a code back then. So we're looking for things like that, the type of construction where the fire was. We're looking for hot spots, the attic, pulling ceilings, things like that. I mean, we definitely don't want to come out for what we call a rekindle. So if something gets missed, we have thermal imaging cameras we're using. We're checking things to see, and if things were damaged in the fire, you may have electrical damage that might be creating an issue or whatever the situation is.
So when you actually hit the ground, so the engine pulls up, what are the first things you guys do?
Well, I would say the very first thing is as an arriving person, I would be telling dispatch what's going on. Here's the situation. We have a 2-story residential house and I don't see anything, or, hey, I have a 2-story residential house with smoke showing, or flames coming out of the alpha side, or fully involved. Yeah. And depending on the situation also depends on what we're going to be doing. If it's a house where it's fully involved, you have fire coming out of every window, we are likely not going to put people inside.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just at that point, it's, we have to look out for ourselves. If we're dead or hurt, we can't help others.
How much roughly hose length do you have on a engine?
So typically we have about 1,000 feet of 5-inch, which is the large yellow hose that we would hook to a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Depending on situations, I mean, really, departments are very good about setting their apparatus up for their particular situations. Do they have a lot of high-rise buildings in their district? Where they're going to be carrying hose into the building and then attaching to the building system. You ever see the FDC connections outside of a building?
Yep.
That's what that is. We hook the engine up to that and add water to that system and then attach hoses inside. So if you have a 6-story or 8-story building, we might start the hose line on number 4, the 4th floor, and then, to attack a 5th floor fire.
So in the process, fire can break windows and things. Do you guys?
100%.
I know you sometimes have to break windows. You cut holes in ceilings, roofs, all of that. What kind of things damage to the house do you see that's caused?
I mean, fire is very detrimental. Even a small fire, you can have a lot of smoke damage. Like I touched on earlier, we have a lot of petroleum products in our everyday lives. You get a lot of toxic smoke from them. So even something very minimal, a small stove fire in a kitchen can be very detrimental to your property. You can have smoke damage throughout the house, where walls, ceiling, all that's contaminated, clothing, furniture. So it really does not take a lot on the end of amount of fire to cause a lot of issues.
Yeah, Josh, you and I have worked on some situations where fire's small, but smoke was absolutely through the entire house.
Yeah. And it gets into everything.
Yeah. And water, you said you got about 3 minutes worth of water on a particular engine. How many gallons is that?
So on a bigger engine, or a bigger capacity engine, I would say you're looking at 1,000 gallons of water.
1,000 gallons. So
and that's, I guess, to put it in perspective, at my department, our aerials, which are ladder trucks, have 2 nozzles that'll do 1,500 gallons a minute.
Wow.
So when that particular apparatus is in full operation with both flowing, we're looking at 3,000 gallons a minute. in an instance like that, they're going to have a dedicated hydrant. I mean, that's a lot of water you're moving. And that can create a lot of problems on the damage side of things, putting that much water into a property.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and you see it all the time. That water's got to go somewhere. So the fire might be on the first floor or the second floor. It's going to go down.
It keeps going down,
Well,
but it stays in the house.
Right.
Unless they have some kind of great drain system.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. So everything below that is being impacted by that water. So it's not just fire or smoke, it's water.
It's water,
as well.
it's everything.
Yeah. So one thing that I didn't know until I got into this industry was that you guys, when you arrive, disconnect the utilities.
100%.
And so how do you do that, and why do you do that?
So we have special tools for that, for disconnecting the electrical meter, shutting off gas lines, and that's mainly for our own protection. I mean, as we are in the house, definitely we don't want the house filling up with natural gas, propane gas, whatever they may have. And of course, electricity and water
don't agree with each other.
Don't go well together. Yeah.
No.
So as you're spraying things, and as it's burned through, now you have exposed electrical. It definitely creates a hazard for us.
Yeah.
So,
but people don't think about that. They think about my house burned, but they don't realize that structure is going to be without power and heat for a period of time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And time of year, I'm sure that creates problems beyond even us. You don't have heat, and it's 20 below for the past week. You're going to have some issues there for sure.
Yeah.
So, with that, so, somebody calls 911 and you get toned out. That's how you get connected and pulled into things.
Yeah.
But then there's got to be that transition that you guys get pulled in.
Yeah.
So how does that happen?
We usually get a call from fire department because public safety, fire department, they're not allowed to leave a scene unprotected or secured. For multiple reasons. I mean, a kid in the neighborhood could get into the house and, curiosity and so on and so forth. Or looted or anything like that. So the home needs to be secured. So we'll get a phone call, whether it's in the middle of the night or during the day, to come board up any windows that may have been knocked out or due to heat, or just to get into entry or to get out of the house. Any doors or any of the roof that may need to be tarped up, so when it starts snowing and raining, it's not creating to the actual damage inside of the house. So a lot of times that's our first phone call, is to board up and secure the home. And then that's where the other
So you guys got
come
an
in.
on-hand supply of tarps and plywood and
We do.
and all those
We do.
things?
We have dedicated trucks and trailers that are set and ready to go 24 hours a day. Anytime we get a phone call, we have to be there on scene within, an hour or two to get that boarded up and secured.
So
no
in
matter
essence,
what time.
your team's on call 24/7, just like they're on call.
For sure. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't have those cool poles that you slide down or anything like that. But
The question is there a calendar of your
we're
guys?
working on that.
Just like the
2026 is a
firefighter
whole
guys.
new year for us.
Well, we'll see if we can't get you one of those when they come.
There you go. So then people wonder, obviously the fire department's first and first responders, and then you guys come in. I get questions that people obviously don't know what to do with their insurance side of things because nobody's been through this. You don't plan to go through a fire. It's something you hope it never happens. And so people ask. So the first call has got to be either to your agent or to a claims number. And from my standpoint, is get that done as soon as possible.
Yeah. Start the process.
Yeah, start the process. Obviously, you take care of your family. That's important. But the faster that you get the insurance company in so that we can coordinate everything is important. And I'm happy to take those phone calls. That's what I'm here for as a local agent. But one of the things that people don't understand is there's this whole other team, just like you have a team, that are adjusters that deal with fixing the situations.
Yeah.
And so to get them involved, this is stuff they deal with that you deal with on a regular basis. They do it all the time. It's like clockwork for them.
Yeah.
So they're going to do everything from, as people don't think about it, you potentially just lost everything, or the majority of things are in your house and you don't necessarily want to go in there or not allowed to go in there to get it. So you need everything from how are you going to brush your teeth tonight?
Yeah.
Where are you going to stay tonight? Do you have clothes for tomorrow? So the faster you get that adjuster there, that adjuster typically is going to be able to provide some money right up front.
Yeah.
And just a base amount of money, write a check to be able to get you your day-to-day needs that you're going to need for, let's say, the next 24 to 72 hours or the next week. So I would say from the insurance standpoint, get that done as soon as possible. So in order to do that, hey, Josh, do you know your insurance agent's phone number? Do you know how to get in touch with them? Do you know your policy number? I would recommend, just as a good habit, is to have stored in your phone, just like any other contact in your phone, to have the claims number for your insurance company.
Oh,
And
100%.
a lot of my clients have my cell phone number, so it gets used once in a while, sometimes late at night. But if nothing else, have that claim number in your phone. Maybe have a copy of it in your car. The car may not be in the garage, just so you know who to call in that time. Because I know, particularly from your standpoint, the faster we make that connection and get that process going, the better. Sometimes an adjuster will be there, not always, but sometimes within a couple hours.
Yeah.
To start that
Depending on the
process.
time of day. Absolutely.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
sure.
Yeah.
And I would add to that, even potentially have somebody else who has that information available for you.
Yep.
You know, at 3 a.m, your house is on fire. You might not be, hey, where's my phone at? It's, hey, get the kids out.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
so
Whether that's
you
a
might
neighbor,
not- you
whether
might
it's a
not- yeah,
relative, a best
exactly.
friend,
Yeah.
it's not a bad idea to have. Yeah.
That people won't always have access to their phone in that situation.
Right. And then that does bring into play the importance of my role as the agent. And that starts way before the fire happens, to think through all the process and all the impacts of what your insurance needs to be able to do in the time. And for me, I can tell you the thing that keeps me up at night, so to speak, is making sure that we have the replacement cost on the house correct.
Yep.
If you've not looked at your insurance policy for 10 years, I can guarantee you that number is way low. And it shouldn't be just, hey, we're calculating this based on the square foot of your house. There should be some time. I know I probably spend a half hour to an hour on every single house that I write, just calculating that number. It's something that I want to sit down with my clients and adjust. I mean, every 2 years we need to look at it. You know, from your standpoint, that's got to be one of the biggest things, that when it comes time to rebuild that house,
It is. It's
do
tough.
we have the money to do it?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, clearly you want to have enough money to rebuild your house. And that number keeps getting bigger and bigger
Unfortunately,
every
that's
year
true.
with, I mean, you can call it inflation, you can call it materials, you can call it whatever you want. But it's not a cheap thing to rebuild a house after a fire damage, right?
Right.
Because there's a lot that goes into it. You have to remove what needs to be removed, which there's a cost associated with that, and then put it all back together and make sure it doesn't smell anymore. It's a lot harder than starting from scratch and just building a house, right? So you need to make sure that you do have enough coverage to cover you for that cleaning, that mitigation, that replacement cost, and to get it all put back together.
Well, and all the little things, there's 3 of us sitting here, and I can guarantee you all 3 of our homes are very different from each other.
Yeah.
And I just think about the things in my house that maybe make it different. We've got a fireplace. Well, was that taken into account in the value? Do you have hardwood floors? Do you have carpet? Do you have crown molding on the top of your cupboards? Are they just normal? Do you have granite? Do you have Formica? There's a lot of variables. that you need to
Upgraded
consider.
cabinets. I mean,
Exactly.
it all goes into
Yeah,
it.
there's those things. And the one thing, Ben and you and I were talking the other day about something that people don't think about is when there's a fire, there's a lot of debris from that fire that needs
for sure.
to be removed out of there. And that's something that people need to know and ask a question about is that part of the replacement cost?
Is my insurance covering those?
Or is there a
costs?
separate limit that's going to allow for that? Because that is one of those things that needs to be in place and taken care of. If you've just got the money to rebuild the house and not to remove that burnt up 2x4 and that burnt up carpet out of there, an insured could be stuck in a situation of paying for that themselves. And
Out of pocket, yeah.
we don't want that. Tell me a little bit about the debris removal process that you guys work through.
Yeah, sure. First of all, we don't remove anything until the fire marshal tells us
Well,
we're
absolutely.
okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times the insurance companies will want to do what's called cause and origin on that
Yep.
as well.
Well, that's good to know. You know that process.
Yeah,
You've been
yeah.
through it many times. So you're not going to touch anything until you're given the green light.
Right, that's exactly
Yeah.
right. So once we do get the green light and we're ready to go, we start with the water. Right. I mean, we have to get the water out. We have to make sure that it's not creating any more damage, so on and so forth. Is it in the middle of the winter? We better get it winterized. To get it dried out, we don't have power or any of that. Anymore.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
So we have to get it to where we're sectioning off part of the house and getting temporary power put in place so we can either run air scrubbers or fans, dehumidifiers, even lighting, so we can see what we're doing.
So you just fire up generators, bring generators
We
in?
can do that as well, but we a lot of times like to section off the burnt side of the house, right, and then get power ran temporarily to sections of the home.
Okay.
We can plug in extension cords, and then you have power all the time without filling up the generator.
Yeah,
all the time.
exactly.
So,
All right.
but after all that gets solved, then and before we deal with the debris, we have to deal with the contents, right?
Yeah.
So we have to figure out what's salvageable with the contents. What we believe we can clean 100%. We get those to a clean facility, and then we start working on the total loss contents, working through that process with the homeowner. Once that's done, then we get into the structure. And the structure then can be, anything from roofing material to insulation to flooring to cabinets to anything. And in coordination with the insurance company, we work with them to make sure everything is covered and up to par. And we just start
So is it?
slowly chipping away at, some call it mucking out the house, because a lot of times when the fire departments, they're checking for those hot spots, they're putting water up in the attic, insulation goes down onto the floor.
Yep.
We have to muck out all that insulation and
Nastiness.
start with that process. And
So is it you roll up? I've been on site and seen things. So there's
Yeah.
probably going to be a roll off dumpster sitting in the driveway.
oh, for sure.
At the same time, do you then bring in totes then and itemize things as you're taking them out?
Yeah, as far as the contents go,
Yeah.
everything gets kind of inventoried, pictured, documented, and they get put in a proper container.
I don't know about you, but I had no idea on that.
I did not know.
Yeah.
I usually am gone well before then, so
Yeah.
that's news to me.
Sure. It gets documented and then transported to a clean environment to where it can be then assessed again. Once it's assessed, we believe we can clean it. We clean it, we deodorize it, and then we store it in our climate-controlled facility that's secure. So during the repairs, it's not still involved in the smoke, so we can deliver those items after the house is being rebuilt.
Sure, yeah. And I'm having visualization in my head right now of a fire that you and I walked through the other day. I can vividly see the shredder that somebody might shred their cheese with
Sure.
was sitting on the floor, and there was
Yeah.
a pair of scissors, and there was the dog bowl, just
Yeah.
the everyday, ordinary life items that you
Well,
guys
if you
have
like
to
that
deal with.
smoky cheese, you know what I mean?
Hey, I like smoked cheese, but I don't know if I like it that way. So let's then talk about the muck.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all going in the dumpster and is going to go away.
Yeah, so we have to carefully do that though, right? Because insulation is now falling onto personal belongings, right? So we have to make sure that when we're scooping up all that stuff, we're not also, taking away, grandma's prized possession.
Right,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
So, but yeah, that all goes to the dumpster and gets taken away for sure. Yep. Yeah, it's quite the process.
So another thing that I think about is, as we talked a little bit earlier, is personal property.
Yeah.
And so on an insurance policy, the way that works, so coverage A is the dwelling, and we need to make sure that is taken care of. In the policy, then coverage B is other structures, so that's any other structure on the property that's not attached to the house. That's typically 10% of whatever the home is. So let's say, I'm going to make this up, you've got a $200,000 replacement cost on a home, you get $20,000 for that detached garage or shed or fence.
Yeah.
That's another limit that needs to be adjusted. You may have a house that is worth $200,000, but you may have a $75,000
For
pole
sure.
barn sitting
Absolutely.
out back or something. So you need to make sure those are insured properly because fires happen there too.
Oh, yeah.
You probably see
100%.
that quite often.
they happen
Garage
quite
fires,
often.
shop fires.
Yep, the
barn
oily rags
fires,
sitting by each other ignite.
rowdy goats,
Yeah, rowdy goats that
they're
do
out
something
there.
crazy.
Yeah.
So it's automatically, it's a certain percentage unless you change
Unless
it
you
otherwise.
change it. Yep.
Okay.
So whatever the house is, your other structures is going to be 10% of that
Yeah.
unless you meet with your agent and change that. They're always going to keep it at a minimum of 10%. You can't
Yeah.
go lower than that.
Yeah.
But if you've got that pole barn, like so us, we have the barn out back, we had to raise ours to the value of that barn.
Absolutely.
And you and I were at a place yesterday, or not yesterday, a few weeks ago, where the detached garage was just close enough to the house
Absolutely. Yeah.
that siding on the structure of the garage was fine, but that siding was smoked. It just shriveled
completely
up.
metal. Yeah.
Just shriveled.
Yep. A lot of heat.
Yeah, so that's one of the things. But then where we're going is with then the next line in the insurance policy coverage C is personal property. So that's if you take your house, turn it upside down and shake it, everything that falls out of it is your personal property. And that is 70%. So you need to make sure that you've got the right amount there because it happens all the time. People are like, I don't have that much stuff.
It all adds up
You
quickly.
want to bet.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if you have a total loss or a significant fire, you're replacing your toothbrush, your salt and pepper, your underwear, your silverware, your couch, your TV, and you keep going down
Yeah,
the list.
everything.
And you're buying it all brand new
Brand new.
at the same time, not on the super sale Black Friday deal.
Right.
So that adds up quickly, as well as in that is the things that need to be cleaned. That comes out of that.
It does.
That
I
limit as
mean, the
well.
idea is the cleaning will be less expensive than to rebuy it. That is the idea.
Correct.
But it's still, there is a cost associated with it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So let's go down that line. So you guys do a lot of that cleaning
Yeah.
and help people get back to normal, but that house is going to take a while to rebuild.
Yeah. It's quite the
So what
process.
happens to that stuff in the meantime? Your dishes, your clothes, all that stuff.
We personally keep it in a climate controlled, secure location
Okay.
at our facility. We have pods inside of our facility where a full family is separated in their own pods
Okay.
inside of our facility, whether they're stored there dirty or they're stored there clean. They're all protected in a climate controlled, secure area until that house is rebuilt and refinished, and we can deliver those items back.
Right. And the average person doesn't think about that is part of what the insurance policy is there for.
Yeah.
Is because those are all costs and expense that we don't want the individual that suffered the loss of their home to have to pay for.
Yeah.
But it is part of those limits that are there.
Or that
So-
they'd even realized, hey, this is what that process looks like.
Yeah.
I think to that end, you brought up a good point. What questions should people be asking their insurance agents, as far as coverage and what they have? I know a common conversation I have with a lot of clients is replacement value. Okay, well, your house is 100 years old. You have this beautiful woodwork, all these natural built-ins, What is the cost to replace things like that?
So to me, that's number one. Is you should go through your house verbally, in essence, with your agent, and that may change over time. We may have ripped out this old carpet and replaced it with hardwood.
Yeah.
So you need to have that conversation to make sure that the house itself is valid. And as we talked about, I mean, you go back pre-COVID, building costs weren't that bad, $175 a square foot maybe. COVID derailed things, recent supply chain issues. You're creeping up to $300 a square foot to replace things.
Well, we all know once it goes up, it almost never
It's
comes
not
down.
coming back down. I mean, the 2x4s went up and they've come back a little. Labor never comes back down.
Yeah.
And so that is something. And I meet with people all the time that come to me and they're like, this is how much. And they confuse market value with replacement costs. Two totally different things.
Yeah.
You may live in a 1,400 square foot ranch that you think the market value is $250,000.
Which sounds fairly accurate.
Yeah, I was going to say you're the expert in that area, But to rebuild that house with today's, that's going to be $350
Yeah.
all day. So if you're trying to use the market value to justify it, you're going to be and then
Well,
you could
not only that though, Barry. I mean, it's not just to rebuild it; it's to take
All these
care of
other
all the
things.
damages and everything that's involved with it. It all adds up. It's more than just the replacement cost of the actual home itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's one that I think, and you talked earlier about going through that inventory of items, is that changes all the time as well.
Oh, yeah.
So it is
100%.
one of those things that you should have that conversation with your agent and kind of go through those things. There's a classic example. There was a loss that was not that far from our house summer before last, where in that scenario, it was actually an outbuilding that burned.
Yeah.
And in that was a boat,
Yeah.
several snowmobiles,
Yeah.
a very nice tractor, and a very nice zero turn.
Oh boy.
The policy had very specific limits to what it would cover. So there may be $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 of coverage for items that service the property. So that would be lawnmowers and tractors. Well, that maybe replaced that zero turn.
Yeah.
That tractor wasn't. And that client wasn't very happy. So you should have those conversations to say, oh, no, we have the zero turn.
Yeah.
That was $13,000 when we bought it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Michelle and I, we have the John Deere with the loader out there. That
Ooh,
thing,
John Deere.
I move a lot of goat poop and horse poop, so I need to have that thing. But I need to have that insured because if something happens, I want that taken care of. And everybody's
100%.
different with things like firearms.
Yeah.
The average person may have their hunting shotgun or rifle or deer rifle or whatever it is. That's not a big deal. Our son who lives out west hunts, eats, sleeps hunting, and has some rifles that are well in excess cost-wise of what the policy would provide. So in that scenario, he would need to have it scheduled. And jewelry is the other one, is if you're somebody that has jewelry, you want to make sure those are scheduled. So that conversation needs to happen all the time. If somebody takes a loan out for a boat or a tractor or something like that, they typically talk to us because they're forced to because there needs to be a lien holder on the policy. But if somebody pays cash, they forget to talk to us. So that would be one of those things that I would say that's a conversation you should have with your insurance agent every 2 years at minimum.
Depending on your Beanie Baby collecting.
Depending
right?
on your Beanie Baby
I know there's
addiction.
days where
sensing
I'm on
an
eBay
addiction.
and I see some deals, so it's
That
you know,
reminds
it
me
ebbs
of
and flows.
that
the influx.
reminds me of a situation that your crew and our crew were working together on. That they found a Beanie Baby that they were going through the itemization thing. The person had forgot about it, and it turned out to be a very collectible one.
Yeah.
So yes.
You thought I was pulling your leg.
So it's a real
Yes,
thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
So Josh, in that, we're talking about timeline, and we know every situation is different.
Yeah.
But what is even somewhat typical in the length of what a restoration is going to look like?
Well, really, like you said, everything's dependent on what actually happened inside the house. But if we were talking about a significant fire that takes out your kitchen, that takes out, the majority of your home, you can plan on a year-long process of being out of your home. A year long, absolutely. Because when there's so many steps that are involved, and we're not going to go over every step, obviously, today. But I mean, you got to start with, the contents, and then getting, those things out of there. And then you start with that structure, and you have to go back and forth and make sure that the insurance company is on an agreement with exactly everything that the restoration company is doing, and those they all want to work together, but it's a process, right? We got to make sure that everything is being taken care of when it's all said and done for the homeowner. So it's quite the process. And then when you're talking about materials and ordering the cabinets and getting the cabinets and ordering the trim and getting the trim and the middle of the winter, we got to replace the trusses first. Well, it's pretty difficult to do when it's, minus degrees outside. So you can always plan out about a year for a significant fire. Now, every fire is different. Smaller fires, you're in the house, quicker. It matters the amount of damage that's in the house and how much of the construction afterwards is going to be. Because the cleaning process can be quicker the rebuild kind of thing, it takes time because materials.
No, and you and I
else.
talked about, it's not like you're building a brand new house.
Yeah.
It's, it's not you're going in and putting in a brand new basement and starting with everything clean. It's an existing structure that some of it's okay, some of it's not.
We
It's all
have
gotta
to
work
get it
together.
to a clean, pristine state before we can put it all back together.
Yeah.
And getting to that process is
a lot of work.
is a lot of work.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
What does that look like from an insurance standpoint as far as temporary housing and policy coverage? What questions should people be asking there?
That's a great question, because if it is going to take a year to do, you got to live somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think you're just throwing the tent out in the backyard and jumping into that. So coverage D of the policy is loss of use coverage. And so it's in different companies do it different ways. Sometimes it's a set dollar amount. Sometimes it's a period of time. But the intent is we're going to make you whole in having a place to live that's similar to yours. Sometimes if it's something small, we are going to put somebody up in a hotel for, let's say it's something small and it's going to be 30 days.
Yeah.
We're probably going to pay for a long-term hotel stay. That may include meals, because you don't have your kitchen to sit there and eat, to fix meals.
And a pool in the middle of the winter.
Hey,
it's not such a bad deal.
there you go.
Really. Yeah.
But if it's going to be 12 months, we're going to try to get you into a house that's somewhat similar to your own.
Yeah.
That's going to be furnished, that you're going to be able to live in. That's not an ideal scenario for anybody, but to know that that's going to be paid for is one of those things that then just comes off your plate. You don't have to worry about that additional financial impact. But that is something. So that is coverage D. It's part of every homeowner's policy that's out there. With that, any last thoughts that you think of when it comes to fire and what you guys do that the average person would want to know about? It's a process.
I don't know. It is a process. I mean, I could go over, 100 different things in 100 different ways.
To me, communication's one of those
communication is huge. I mean, if you need, everybody is looking for answers, especially right at first, right? Oh, what do I need to do? As long as that communication is there, usually it goes okay. And that goes both ways. The homeowner needs to communicate to the restoration company. The homeowner needs to communicate to the insurance company, and vice versa. And we all need to be, because we're all in this together.
That's exactly.
The adjuster's there to help write checks and make sure everything's good. Restoration company's there to perform their tasks to make sure that the house is good, and the homeowner just wants to get it done, right, and be back home. But yeah, it's a process.
It is.
It's a real process, and as long as those expectations are kind of talked about, the amazing thing is getting that hug when they're moving back into their house, and they go, you know what, that was kind of a pain in the neck, but we made it. We're stronger for it, and now look at this house. It's home again, and we're ready to move back in, and they're pretty happy with the process usually at the end.
Yeah. Any last things from your standpoint, Ben, of individuals should do before tragedy strikes?
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Be proactive. Have conversations with your agent. I know especially with my clients, I'm telling them, hey, discuss replacement values, even just of the property, not even, of your Beanie Baby collection or, grandma's fine china or whatever other things you may have. So that's a big one. I'm definitely caveats. If you have a home that's been, maybe it's something non-conforming, that's a great example, I feel. Have that conversation with your agent. If my home is, a non-conforming home, then I have a fire. Can I even rebuild my home here? Because you might not be able to. Right. So definitely ask those questions, 100%. Yeah. Fire safety, 100% be proactive. Have that plan of how we're going to get out of the house, where we're going to be, smoke detectors, fire extinguishers, fire blankets. I mean, the more the merrier, as you have more options available. Oh, you have a fire extinguisher and a fire blanket. Great. But definitely be proactive.
Yeah. And the thing that I love, and it's the reason the three of us are sitting around this table right now, is doing this to take care of our community. We live in the community. We're going to see everybody in the grocery store, at church, walking down the street. We truly care about where we live. We're here to answer any questions. As professionals, we're going to do our darndest to get individuals back to whole and back to living. That's what we care about. That's why we chose to do the careers, whether it's being a realtor and helping individuals get into their ideal home, or whether it's
100%.
putting on your suit and taking care of their home when tragedy strikes. It's kind of what we do.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for the conversation today.
Thank you,
It's good
guys.
information that we put out there, and we hope it makes a difference for people.